Hello, I'm Paul Hefner, the owner of Finance Pals, and today I'm doing a video on how to increase your profits. There's a few, I talk on this topic a lot. There's a few differences about this video. I'm going to get into some of the operational things that people can do, and this is for a presentation I'm actually giving tomorrow that has a lot of solopreneurs in it. So some of the slides and numbers are sort of adjusted for those size companies, but it's applicable. A lot of the feedback is applicable for anybody who has a growing business. I'm going to share my screen and go through these slides. This is also a fun way for me to practice my slides before I actually give the presentation tomorrow. So there's basically three things we're going to talk through. The profit margin is one, and this is very heavily focused. It's normally your price you charge minus the cost of goods sold. And for this topic, we're focusing mainly on the price part of it because a lot of these people are solo entrepreneurs. So we'll talk a lot about price increasing. We'll talk about increasing scale, which is something I've covered before. I think it's around having, well, I'll cover on the slide, but it's basically about covering your fixed costs and then growing, getting more revenue to cover those fixed costs. And then one slide on decreasing your fixed costs, which is sort of the not as sexy or fun way to increase your profits. And then the slide I'm giving tomorrow, there's a group of about 10 to 20 people, and so they have a lot of other business-minded folks that might have other ideas. So I'm going to solicit their ideas as well. And if anybody watches this wants to put comments or anything, so I'd love to hear your ideas as well. So the first part is I think price increasing is it's sort of like one of those magic bullets, but nobody does it. Sort of like eating healthy or working out or I don't know, a lot of other things. It's like it sounds good, but then when you actually have to go and do it, it's not as fun or easy to do as people think. So I'm going to start with talking about concerns people have. I think a lot of times it's around not being able to complete the sale. There's a big objection that people are worried if they increase their prices, then all of a sudden they won't get any customers and then they won't have any business. I think that's probably the biggest concern, but I will see what other people say. I'll list on another slide some other sort of things that I do. But just think through what are the reasons you're not, and if there's other reasons, I'd love to hear them. And so this goes over that first objection. So it basically says, in this example, if your profit margin is 40%, and actually, sorry, I want to thank Scott Barth, who's an exit planner, who originally showed me this slide. But it basically says if you have 40% profit margin and you increase your price by 10%, then your sales would need to fall by 20%, and that's all of your sales. And so, obviously, if you just increase it, 2%, it's sort of, double. If you increase it by 2%, then your sales would have to fall by that amount. So this is just a way to sort of get a little comfortable with it. And who knows, maybe if you do increase your price 10%, 20% of your customers would not sign up or would not stay with you. But more and more, what I've heard, especially with post-COVID and inflation and all sorts of other crazy stuff, people are sort of expecting these price increases to be coming, and sort of just a little bit of how you can make it easier on your customers for planning and letting them know ahead of time, and also just make it easier on yourself managing it. So there's a few ideas I have on that later. So these are the ideas that I typically implement. The first one, and this is somebody told me this a long time ago, I don't know where I heard it, but if you're considering a price increase and you're worried about the conversion rates or different things, try it out for new customers, or try it out when you're especially if you're a solopreneur or just have a business of one, and you don't have much more time, you only have time to maybe do one more client. Instead of just taking the next client that comes in, say, well, I'm going to increase my rates 10 or 20% for this client, or I think my wife has a fee schedule that's like just ridiculous, because she doesn't want to take on any extra work beyond her job. But if somebody wants to pay a crazy rate, then she will be more likely to get excited about it. So that's the first one, is try out for new customers. Another one is to do it sort of every year at, the same time of year, so your customers sort of expect it. You could also build that language into your contract. Say, hey, we're going to increase pricing every year, and that way, just you don't even have to send an email. It's like that was in the contract. Every year we're going to increase by 5% or 2% or whatever it is, whatever makes sense for your industry. And I think that's pretty common. The next bullet was don't be lazy. This was mainly around me, but I think a lot of times it takes work to go in there, and if you have your pricing in QuickBooks, your services, and you're doing it that way, or even just reach out to your customers and say, hey, we're going to increase pricing, and it's just because there's that step. So there's some steps later, but I would find a way to have somebody either help you with this. I had sort of an admin type person send out a bunch of emails last year that basically said, reach out to every person and say, here's our new pricing. And we have the benefit of both needing to do bookkeeping and CFO, or not bookkeeping, but also tax returns. And so we're sort of saying, here's our tax rate for this year, here's our bookkeeping rate. And so we're, talking about all those things. And I think there's probably a million other ways to increase pricing. Actually, there's one firm that we work with, or one company, and they have done more a B2C business. They have people out doing estimates and pricing, and they have a Google sheet that is their estimating form, and so they can go in and change the variables in that form, and then all of a sudden estimates will automatically be higher. And so they have, in the year of 2022, I know they've increased pricing at least 4 times, probably 5 times by now. So just as whatever it is changes, their cost of materials, their labor costs, or they're just worried about profits, they're going to do that, and they might see how that impacts their conversion rates if they track all those really, really well. So the next part is scale, and this is I don't know how to move this box. See if I can move it. Look up there. And I covered a little bit. There's this chart down here at the bottom. So you have your I don't know if I can move this either. Your fixed costs here in blue. These are sort of your variable costs. So as your revenue, I guess this is purple one, as your sales go up, your variable costs go up. And then this green line is your total cost. This shows your break even. But then, as you continue to increase your scale, your profit goes up, which is what this chart is trying to show. And this just shows it here in numbers. This is for a company that's making close to 250K in revenue. We talked about profit margin, and I think something to consider here that this is, as I was tailoring this for solopreneurs, is I think a lot of solopreneurs don't have any cost of goods sold. It's just them. They do their time. Maybe they have hosting costs, or they have some materials costs or something like that, but it's pretty minimal. It's just their time. They don't have any, for the most part, employee costs, which is a big part of COGS, or materials are not. Maybe if they're a painter, or those types of businesses that have gas and water materials costs, then maybe they have some. For the most part, it's their time. And so as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about their billable percent, because maybe they're doing a lot of other things, like, I don't know, writing marketing emails, or sending invoices, or doing networking events, or doing all different things, even just doing estimates are different things. And so all the, writing contracts, all those different things are not billable. And so I sort of, put this plan on it of what if, that percentage was lower because you have some amount of billable. You could either, hire somebody to do that work, which is coming up in a later slide, or just thinking about that, if you can increase that billable percentage a little bit, then that will also increase your profit. And then these are some of the fixed costs. I just put, rent, insurance. This owner draw could be salary or different things, and then all this comes to an annual cash flow. So this was a break-even scenario, which is shown right here. And then, as you increase your revenue, your profit goes up. And if you increase your margin a little bit by increasing your prices, which you already covered about, you would go this way. And so I sort of see this, and this, I can change these numbers and do different things. I love sensitivity tables, but the point of this for me is a lot of times, and you may get pushback on it, continuing to increase prices, but if you can, sometimes the better solution is to increase your scale. That's where that was the point of the slide. And so then the next part is, thinking about your scale. What are your constraints to increasing the scale? And this could be anything. A lot of times, for bigger businesses, it's hiring people and labor shortages and turnover and all those things. I think that I've worked with a tree trimming company, and their constraints are they need to have equipment. What you call it, the machine that you shove the trees through that makes it into wood chips. I don't know what that's called, but that grinder machine, they only have those. So even if they have more jobs, they have more people, they only have, at least right now, they only have 2 of those machines. So those machines actually get driven around to different sites, regardless of where the other staff is. And so there's constraints like that. But when I really, where I was going with this with solopreneurs, I think it's going to be your time. And so if you're spending time doing invoicing, doing marketing, going to networking, and doing whatever other task you're doing, that is taking away from sort of your billable time. So if you can increase your billable time, then I think that will have a dramatic impact on your your total revenue and your profit. We'll see what other people have on their constraints. And so there's basically two advice parts to increase your scale. One is to get more customers. I won't get into this a lot because it doesn't really go over any specific things related to sort of the smaller businesses. But these are just a few ideas: asking for referrals, add-on services. This is Finance Pals in a nutshell. We started doing CFO work, and then we expanded to bookkeeping, then we expanded to tax, and then we're always considering doing other services or expanding. And we started doing tax, it was just business returns, then we expanded to personal returns, and we're always sort of looking for what our clients are asking for and seeing if that's a service that we want to add or not. And then obviously you can do more networking or marketing and things like that. I think, and there's entire people who are specialized in getting more customers. So I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's an interesting way to think about it. But the more actionable advice is sort of improving operations. So I would think through, what you can automate or what processes, the people and processes of a business. Those are 2 of the levers. But I think of more in terms of automating. So what can you do in terms of your contracts that you're sending out to customers, your scheduling of your time, and scheduling with new clients or even your existing clients. Invoicing, is there a way, if you're invoicing hourly, where you can use a software like QuickBooks Time to do that? AR reminders, if somebody hasn't paid, could you have people pay you up front? Could you have automated automated credit card billing through bill.com or something like that? Can you auto classify your bookkeeping transactions? These are a lot of things that we help our clients with. But it's also, anybody can sort of find their own solutions to automate or improve some of these, call it back office or time sucking tasks. The next part is around delegating. So I already mentioned using some software, but there's some other ones here. Accountantly is one for scheduling, and also hiring some people. Upwork has great resources all over the world that can help you do some of these admin tasks or other things like that. Loom is a video recording thing for like training, and Tango is, I haven't used Tango. I've looked at it. Loom does everything in my mind that Tango does, because it's the video, and video is better than sort of a guide. But Tango creates the guide, it sort of records what you do and creates a guide. I like this third bullet here, saying no. This is something that I am trying to get better at. There's a podcaster named Greg McEwen, I think, and he has a lot of stuff around no and sort of setting up your day and things like that. So, what could you say no to in terms of, there's some clients that are sucking up your time and not paying enough, or even just taking on meetings, networking meetings or other meetings. Email, I put in all caps. Yeah, I think McEwen talks a lot about like if you wake up and the first thing you do is you check email for 2 hours and then you're in like panic mode, you're trying to respond to all the emails, and then like you check again like 2 hours later and you're just like worried that you're missing emails. If there's any way you can develop a process to have an admin person go through emails, or I've even seen people who have auto reply that says, "Hey, I only check email twice a day," um, or whatever it is, just so you don't feel like you're doing that. Because if you once you do that, that might be your most productive time, those 2 hours, first thing in the morning, where you can really knock off, high priority, difficult tasks, or it just you may all of a sudden get completely I don't know, blindsided and distracted and go off on a complete tangent and waste a couple hours. Social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever people are using. I think all those things, if you can limit the amount of time you're doing those things, it'll free up your time for billable times. And then again, love to hear other ideas on improving operations. This is a quick slide, and I think you can spend a lot of time on decreasing fixed costs. Basically looking at software you don't use. My wife once had a credit check software. I don't remember what company it was, but she signed up for it once for something, and she actually forgot about it for like 2 or 3 years. And they billed us every month for like 2 or 3 years. And one day we were going through and said, "What is this $7 bill or whatever?" And then we canceled it. But I mean, we paid a lot of money that we didn't have to if we had just gone through and checked it every once in a while. Interest paid on credit cards, obviously you want to pay those down if you're able to, or if you have lines of credits or different things, you can reshuffle those things. Credit card processing for your bills, for invoicing that your customers are paying. There might be ways they can pay you by check or Zelle, or just a way to potentially not use credit card. Maybe ACH is closer to 1% to the 3%. So there's lots of other options there. Meals and going out, is another cost, or travel, or there's lots of other cost categories you can look at and say, are there other ways for savings? This is one just sort of flip side is with interest rates going higher, we're recommending a lot of our clients to look at if they have a savings account that's making like 0.0001%. There's a lot of savings accounts now that are paying like 2 or 3%, and who knows, by the time you watch this video, it may even be higher. And so that's free money if you just take a little time to and invest in figuring out where to put that. And then there's just a quick note, some people will sort of go lax about meals and travel and things like that because they think that they're sort of lowering their taxes, which is true. But it's also balancing that versus profit, and it depends on your business. I think a lot of times you can prepay expenses and do different things, and then your rent and other things to lower your taxes, which is great. But then if you're going to try to sell your business or try to do other things, then it's always not the best. So there's just a quick note on fixed costs and sort of summing it up. So here's my conclusion. I think everybody should be looking at increasing prices or coming up with a system for how they can increase prices easier. Increasing scale, find a way to improve those operations. What can you automate through better processes and systems? What can you delegate to outsource providers, people overseas, or just admin staff you hire? And what can you say no to, just to completely free up your time, or just change your schedule so that you're able to be more productive, and then look for savings in your fixed costs. So thank you for watching. Love to hear any feedback, and hope you all have great days. Thank you.